I have a question here about categorizing homosexuality and heterosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if an asexual feels no sexual desire, no sexual feelings in that respect, can there be a distinction between hetero or homo? Or can an asexual develop a loving relationship with each? Is it possible to be asexual and still have a preference for either one gender or the other?
Yes. Many asexual people identify as asexual and gay, asexual and bi, asexual and lesbian or straight. And that's the definition of asexuality is an asexual is person is someone who doesn't experience sexual attraction. But many asexual people still experience attraction. So we'll still see someone and feel compelled to be in a relationship with them, just not a sexual relationship. And because of that, there are people who are attracted to men, who are attracted to women, who are attracted to both. And there are people who don't really experience attraction, but who, like me, I'm someone who doesn't who experiences attraction, but pretty weakly. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a desire to form relationships with people. It just means I don't get crushes on people that strongly.
Okay. What is it like for an asexual person to try and meet other asexual people? Is it difficult? Are there signs that you know to look for when you're trying to hook up with someone else who is also asexual?
It's very difficult right now. As I alluded to earlier, the community is very, very young, and it's mostly popped up over the internet. So we have a little over about 7,000 members in the English-speaking community. There are also communities in Russian, German, French, Italian, Portuguese, Japanese, Dutch, that are centered in other countries around the world, and where people talk in those languages. And so if you want to meet another asexual person, a lot of times what you have to do is go onto the community and just try to find people who are in your area and then meet up with them. And we're just beginning to get to the critical mass in areas like Germany and the UK and the US, where people can have those kinds of meetups. And so we're just beginning to have a local community. But it's still starting. So I think it's difficult it's difficult to meet a lot of asexual people in your area right now, just because the community is still so new and so small, and though it's growing very rapidly, and because the idea of asexuality is I think still just getting out there.
Do you remember the first time you met an asexual person, or the first asexual person that you met where you were able to finally share a commonality with?
Oh yes, definitely. It happened actually in stages. I found, after years and years and years of looking and finding nothing, I found an article online on some zine that talked about asexuality, and it was a hugely powerful experience for me to know that there were other people out there who were sharing my experience. And from there, I kind of found my first communities where people were talking about this. And then once I'd started asexuality.org, I started communicating a lot over email, over phone, and over our online forum with people who shared my experience. And it's difficult to describe, but I think that there are a lot of forces out there telling asexual people that we're not okay, that we're somehow broken, that if you want to be happy, if you ever want to connect with anyone, if you ever want to kind of live life in a way that's worthwhile, you have to be sexual. And it's really powerful and really validating to find other people for the first time who who can demonstrate that that's not the case.
If two asexual people get into a relationship, is it completely devoid of sex, or at the very least, sexual tensions?
Yeah. If the cases I know of two asexual people who've been in a relationship, that's not to say it's devoid of tension. That's not to say that it's devoid of any of the things any of the emotional things that you would associate with a relationship.
But at the end of the day, do they go to bed together, or do they?
Yeah, a lot of times they go to bed together. They won't necessarily have sex in the bed, but people sleep together and be affectionate and cuddle and touch.
And let's talk about the idea of fidelity and jealousy. If your partner is asexual, chances are your partner will never be unfaithful to you. But does that eliminate a lot of the jealousy, you think, in relationships when people feel threatened by another person or a partner?
It makes it more complicated. The whole idea of asexual monogamy is something that's gotten talked about a lot, and there's some asexual couples I know about who refer to themselves as being monogamous, and some who don't, and a lot of relationships between asexual people and sexual people that are just as complicated, if not more so.
Mm-hmm.
You're required, I think, in a situation very similar to the one that polyamorous people are in, you're required to have a more in-depth conversation about exactly what kind of commitment you want to have, about why you're important to one another, and how you could potentially hurt one another, and how you want each other to be there. How you want to be there for one another. And it's not as easy as just saying, okay, I'm not going to have sex with anyone else, you're not going to have sex with anyone else, and therefore we're going to be together and be happy. You have to get more in depth, but I think that conversation can be important and can be powerful in and of itself, even if it's a little harder to have.
We have to go to break again. You're listening to Frank Talks Pleasures and Lifestyles. We'll be back right after this.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the book I'm a Man, That's My Job, The Philosophy of a Seducer. Ladies, have you ever wondered where all the real men have gone? Do you turn to your women friends because you cannot find a true man in your life? Do you want the man in your life to step up and know what it means to be a man that can make you feel like the woman that you are? Are you tired of mothering the men you date? Give these boys the gift of manhood. The book, I'm a Man, That's My Job, teaches men to create their own seduction persona, personal inner game, and how to take the lead in a relationship. Buy this book now at franktalks.com.
Would you like to sponsor Frank Talks? Visit www.franktalks.com and contact Frank, because he has to be. Sponsorships are always welcome, whether it's prize giveaways, parting gifts for our guests, studio equipment, accessories for the Frankmobile, or a host of other wonderment. Help Frank Talks make the world a better place, one interview at a time.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.